In other news, according to the latest crime stats, South Africa is faced with the grim reality of kidnappings being a common occurrence, especially kidnapping for ransom. A jaw-dropping 4,700 kidnappings were recorded in the last quarter, compared to 5 years ago. In the same period, 1,900 cases were logged. This stark contrast clearly indicates an alarming upward trend. Now, one of the recent cases involves Jerry Boshoga, a well-known farmer and entrepreneur. His kidnappers are demanding a 10 million rand ransom. Let's unpack this now with Dr Moscow Marumo, who's the executive chair of a non-profit organization called Hostage Survival Training Center, and joins us now via our video link. Doc, it's lovely to see you. Thank you very much indeed for making time to speak to us about this, especially because I find these stories don't always make headlines, despite the very clear data showing that, in fact, this seems to be becoming a whole lot more prevalent. In the work that you do, what are you finding typically is the modus operandi of the kidnappers?
Thank you, Yanda, and thanks for having me. We basically have three distinct categories of kidnappers. You have professional kidnappers, you have criminal kidnappers, and you have political kidnappers, which is not yet rampant in this country, thank God. So the modus operandi really is around how kidnappers plan and execute their operation. It's almost along the lines of a project management cycle, if you like. The initial stages will involve setting a criteria that they use to be able to select their targets. There'll be a research stage where they research specific families or individuals, looking into their family networks, their net worth, their finances, and their vulnerability, and thereafter isolating the most vulnerable member of that family, and that then becomes their target. There will be reconnaissance missions that they undertake. There will be a clear depiction of how many members will be involved, what type of weaponry will be involved, and then the crime will be executed. Now, that's a planned kidnapping. The other category is an opportunistic kidnapping, which is largely pursued by criminal syndicates.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing. Sorry for interrupting you there. As you continue helping us understand the context, really, my question really was going to be, which then of these type of kidnappings typically are you finding is becoming a whole lot more prevalent in our country?
Absolutely right. Ransom kidnapping, financial motive. It's on top of the list. However you look at it, whether it's kidnapping, taking for purposes of human trafficking, again, money exchange hands there, money is involved, or whether it's kidnapping for involuntary servitude on farms, in domestic environments, money exchanges hands. And there are worst case scenarios where there's kidnapping and hostage taking for purposes of organ harvesting. That's the most sinister of all of them.
Yeah.
But it is there. It's also prevalent.
In fact, those are the allegations being made against one of the accused in the Jocelyn Smith case that's currently underway in Cape Town, that in fact she was taken for her eyes and her skin. Still all claims at this stage. But Doc, help us understand, what the approach should be, both for the victim of a kidnapping and the family, for argument's sake, that's been demanded a ransom. I mean, there's that, ideological approach that you don't really negotiate with kidnappers. I know those are the stances taken by countries, including our own. But of course, there's also the imperative of making sure that the victim is kept alive.
Absolutely. Yes, countries will very quickly say what you just said. We don't negotiate and we don't pay ransom. But At the end of the day, Ayanda, the issue of whether ransom gets paid or not basically rests with the family itself. Governments will not pay ransom, but governments will at the same time not refuse for families to pay ransom if they want to and they can afford it. So it's a question of kidnappers understanding the worth of the hostage and making it clear whether via media or directly communicating with families about the quantum of the ransom. The family the family is essentially the one that's most stuck because they want this case to be broadcast, but then it's very tricky. You have to be very careful about how and what you say to the public about the kidnapping, because that can put the life of the hostage in danger, and it can essentially even start to increase the ransom. At the same time, you're also giving the kidnappers undue publicity. The family must work with law enforcement. In this country, we have a very good hostage negotiation team that can take the family through about what are those aspects that they can mention in the media which will not compromise the ongoing negotiation for a hostage to be released.
And
so family has a role.
Right, apologies again. That was going to be my next question. I mean, at what stage does the family involve the police? I mean, is it from the first call you get, or do you try, for example, to see if you can reach an agreement in as subtle a way as possible in order to obviously, make sure your loved one is back home safely?
And this is the challenge with this type of crime. There are many cases that go unreported for families fearing retribution. However, what needs to happen is that as soon as the family receives a message about a kidnapping of their loved one, they have to report that crime to law enforcement, because it is a very serious crime. Until the majority of cases are reported, we will continue chasing a moving target in terms of the statistics about kidnapping. So it's advisable that the family must almost immediately inform law enforcement so that a search and rescue operation can commence and intelligence can begin its job on trying to locate where the hostage might be kept. So to answer your question, immediately, report it immediately. Even if the hostage takers say do not inform law enforcement, you must, because you're going to need help. And law enforcement is the only formation that's trained to be able to walk you through and assist you in making progress with getting your loved one back.
Given what you've mentioned about the planning that goes into this, at least in some of these kidnapping cases, and this is excluding the opportunistic one, I suppose, it sounds to me that the kidnappers themselves are incredibly well-resourced. I mean, does that match with what you're finding through your work?
Yeah, absolutely. They are well-resourced, especially professional kidnappers. Remember, this is, for all intents and purposes, also a transnational crime. A high-profile kidnapping taking place in South Africa may have been planned and orchestrated outside of the borders of the country. So the kingpins may be residing outside of the borders of the country. What you would have here would be foot soldiers. Yeah, so it is locally driven and internationally driven. Make no mistake about that.
Yeah. In the case of little Jocelyn Smith, once again, as I make reference to it, because that's top of mind, I imagine, for a lot of people, we've heard that a close family member might have been involved. And as if we were even thinking about how to come up with, a discussion around this. Several members of my team spoke about how it's not unconceivable that it's actually members of the family who identify the most vulnerable and use them to try and generate money one way or the other. How prevalent is that kind of crime?
It is very prevalent. This type of crime also thrives on the poverty situation of some families. And family members, siblings have shown in our work that many a times they are in fact facilitators of this type of crime against their fellow family members. So it's very prevalent. It happens more often than we know. And as I say, socioeconomic conditions sometimes can be explained to be the drivers of family members actually going to that extent. But there are no holy cows. It happens in families, between and amongst family members, the neighbors, the communities at large. So I'm not surprised with the Joseph Smith case. There is a possibility that there was involvement by family members there.
Sure.
It's happened many times before.
Really sobering indeed. My last question to you, Dr. Marumo. I shudder at the thought of what goes through the mind of a kidnapping victim, but I think we need to, of course, speak about what you should do if you find yourself in that situation, especially if, of course, the objective, which I imagine is the case, is to stay alive. There's a temptation to act out, to, throw tantrums, but you also don't want to come across as conceding to everything. And, I speak as a complete layman who doesn't know much about this. What's your informed advice about how one should respond if they ever find themselves in that situation?
Yeah, that's exactly goes to the core of what my organization, Hostage Survival Training Center, does. It trains and prepares people for a survival mindset in instances where a kidnapping happens or a person is already taken hostage. The first thing is to stay calm. A trained mind will remind you that you are in a situation in which you have absolutely no control. Do not fight back. Do not scream at your hostage takers. Stay calm. Try to connect with your hostage takers, and always, all the time, look for ways to capitalize your escape if you can. It is not one of the safest ways to go, but you have to always remember the 3 C's of being calm, connect with them. In other words, humanize yourself, because at that moment you are nothing else but a commodity to be traded. So your behavior in captivity will dictate whether you come out alive or not. Bad behavior has led to some hostages being actually losing their lives. So if you have prepared yourself, if you have a trained mindset, you will know what's the best behavior and what is your role as a hostage in that situation. It doesn't mean if you are a hostage, you have no role to play in your ordeal. You do, but only a survival mindset can be able to guide you and help you to survive and come out unscathed.
Yeah. And what do you mean by capitalize your escape?
By capitalizing, while you are in captivity, always look for opportunities that can help you to escape. Always develop a rapport. Try to develop a rapport with your kidnappers. Escape, as I say, it's not the easiest thing. It's as risky as a rescue operation. A lot of hostages are released through negotiated release of one way or the other. But you have to capitalize in terms of being demanding about your welfare. You have to always try to get your hostage takers to see you as a human being, first of all, and not as as I said earlier, a commodity to be traded. So capitalize on small things while you're on the inside. Exercise in case there's an opportunity to escape.
Sure.
You have to be in a physical condition to be able to escape if you can success. So capitalize on everything that goes on around you.
Right.
Have a very observant mind and observe the routine of your kidnappers to see where you can capitalize for your continued welfare, or as I say, even escape if that
Sure.
opportunity may arise.
Also important and insightful. Dr. Moscow Marumo, thanks very much indeed for your time. Really do appreciate it. Dr. Marumo is the executive chair of a non-profit company called Hostage Survival Training Center, helping us, of course, hone in on the scourge of kidnapping in our country. And of course, there are so many cases that come to mind. Arguably most prominent, that involving little Jocelyn Smith, currently underway, of course, at the Saldanha, the High Court in the Western Cape, sitting in Saldanha at a multi-purpose center there. And in fact, what we know now, of course, is that one of the key state witnesses in Laurentia Lombard is once again back on the stand. We'll get you a sense of what else she said, because in the past, of course, there's been jaw-dropping testimony there about Kelly Smith, that's Jocelyn's mother, apparently conceding in a conversation to have selling the child to a local sangoma in exchange for her eyes and the little girl's skin. This is, of course, still very much at an early stage of investigations, all claims being ventilated in court. And in fact, what we're expecting for much of the day ahead is for the defense to immediately start poking holes into that testimony. As soon as there's any other movement, we'll bring that to you live.